Welcome back to another measure of the economy. Today, we're going to focus on the idea of unemployment and this key word of limiting. So, we're going to try to explain how unemployment can never be, should never be zero, and why that's actually unhealthy. And there's kind of a number, there is a number we're kind of looking for to talk about what's called full employment. So, full employment is the concept that there can't be 0% unemployment. So there's a healthy level that would mean that we're fully utilizing our laborers. It does suck when your job gets blown up. All right, so let's dive into this topic. In the next chapter, we can cover this topic. So what is unemployment exactly? Because there's misconceptions about it. What are the four types? Which are healthy, and what's a healthy level? And how do we actually calculate it? So this is important. When you look for a job and you can't find it, you give up, you're now considered employed. That's not true. And it's also not true that if you look for a job and you can't find it and you give up, you don't become unemployed. You actually totally move out of something called the labor force. So there's lots of misconceptions about unemployment. And here's a quick visualization breakdown of there's a lot of people in the United States. And when we break those down and we look at how many people actually are willing to work and then are employed or willing to work and don't have a job versus not even willing to work, or they're over 65 and retired, they're under 16 and they can't work, they're in the military, they're in jail, they're in hospitals, we come up with different numbers. The unemployment rate versus how many people have a job in the United States. And those are two totally different things. So let's just focus on this, employed and unemployed, so we can sort out unemployment numbers. So the unemployment rate is the amount of people in the labor force, keyword, who want a job but aren't working. So what is the labor force? This is important to know. It's your unemployed plus your employed people make up your nation's labor force. Again, it's not everybody. If you're under 16, you're not counted. If you're in school full time, you're not counted. If you're in jail or a hospital, you're not counted. If you're in military or retired, you're not counted. Somebody that is a stay-at-home mom or dad is not unemployed. They're just not in the labor force. How come? This underlined word or words are very important. Able, so not disabled, and this one, willing. Willing to work. A stay-at-home mom is not unemployed because they're not willing to look for a job. So is that bad? No, it's not bad. There's always going to be people who are not willing to work for a job, but it changes our unemployment rate. So we're talking about unemployment as your labor force, which is your unemployed plus your employed people. What we're going to break down is the four types of unemployment and causes of unemployment. It should explain how unemployment can't be zero, and you're going to have to know which one is not safe or healthy. I have a couple ways to remember this. So somebody that is frictionally unemployed, somebody trying to get a job, but they temporarily can't. Well, just think about how you create friction. Two things rubbing against each other. So that's how I like to think of frictionally unemployed people is they're in between something. So they're moving past or they're moving beyond. So they quit, they're fired, and quitting and being fired are very different than being laid off, which is important to understand. Frictional unemployment is considered healthy. You should have people that are graduating. You should have people that are fired. You should have people that quit. You should have people that are temporarily in between jobs. This is healthy for an economy and shows how unemployment can never be zero. The second type of unemployment is called structural. So when I think of this one, I think structure. Well, in order to create a structure for a building, it needs to be built. In order to build, you need skills. So its skills do not match the jobs available. Just two oversimplified examples, but maybe a better one is this. And these are healthy. If I am a worker in Detroit, and I'm unemployed, it might be because I worked at a factory, a Ford factory that made cars. Well, I'm unemployed because my skills don't match the jobs available. What do we mean by that? Well, the jobs that were there are now replaced by automation, which is technically healthy. The United States is 2.5 times more productive than we were 30 years ago with a third less workers. That a third of people that were working in those industries have been replaced because their skills are not matching the jobs available. It's considered healthy. We should move on from certain things. There should be new jobs and skills that are learned. So this is considered a healthy type of unemployment. The other type of unemployment that's considered healthy is pretty straightforward. Some people would put this in the category of frictional, but we'll just put it here. There's 2 seasons in Minnesota: winter and road construction. So in winter, construction workers can be out of a job. They'll be seasonally unemployed. Most companies try to get around this or alleviate the problem of seasonal unemployment by having winter work. Like a landscape company would probably plow in the winter. So the only bad type of unemployment is this, and how you pronounce it is cyclical. Cyclical sounds like business cycle, so you should be making that connection. It's a downturn in the economy, like a recession. So here comes back our words of being laid off. Okay, if I'm fired or quit, it's because changes in how the business is run, or I'm not doing a good job, which is considered healthy. But if I'm laid off, that means my business is not making money. And when we're talking about being laid off or a recession, we're not just talking about one company. We're talking about tens of hundreds of companies that are laying off workers because they're not making as much. That would result in a bad type of unemployment, and we'd like to limit this unemployment in an economy. So cyclical unemployment is the only bad type of unemployment. So when we get to this idea of full employment, we're saying that there is frictional, structural, and seasonal, but there is not cyclical. So that is called full employment. So if you ever see on a test, healthy unemployment or full employment is considered what? You would not select 0%. That's impossible. These always happen. So full employment is between 4 to 6%. It's the ideal line. 4 to 6% is healthy. That's an important number to know. If we are above 6%, what does that mean? It means we have cyclical unemployment. It's people are being laid off. The economy is not healthy, is why people don't have a job. But what if we're under 4? Well, that's not considered healthy either. It's a term called overemployment. If your economy gets down to 2% or maybe even 1% unemployment, too many people have jobs, which sounds weird, but think about what people do when they have jobs. People, when they have jobs, collect an income, and with that income, they'll probably go out and spend. Well, if too many people spend, or there's too much spending going on in an economy, that means prices are going to rise. And we lead to another problem called inflation, which we'll get to in the next unit. And there's countries that deal with different levels. Here's the United States. We need an updated chart, which is below 4% now. Notice it's the opposite of the business cycle. So this is a recession. So unemployment always works opposite. But whatever goes down must come up. So at some point, unemployment rates will start to rise, hopefully not as bad as the Great Recession. With that, that's the end of our unemployment unit or chapter. So what we'll get into next is our other key measure of the economy, and we'll see you next time.